Hi book lovers, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to do today's video because I'm just going to be talking about my favorite reads of the year so far, the romances that I loved reading this year, though I am going to limit myself to just my top 10 for now. So here is my top 10 of 2022 so far. This isn't going to be in any particular order. I'm going to save ranking stuff towards the end of the year. Am I cheating and counting an entire series as one on this list? Yes, but I do this every time so no one is surprised. I have a combination of both new releases, of 2022 releases, as well as some older books. The first book that I want to talk about is actually my most recent favorite that I recently discovered. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably might already know what it is. It's Reverse Harem, it's paranormal romance. It's a 6-book series, but only 5 of them are out so far, and I binged all 5 books in about a week and a half. It's the Bonds That Tie series by Bree. I am so obsessed with this series. Like, I love it so much. I love all the characters, I love the romances. It is fairly slow burn, but the slow burn is totally worth it. I have the first 2 books in paperback so far, and I will probably end up collecting the rest of the series. That's how much I loved it, but I just love paranormal reverse harem romances, and this world that Bree created was so interesting and unique. It's fated mates, but the thing about fated mates in this world is that they're called bonds, and you can have multiple bonds. So that's the whole reverse harem part, and the heroine has 5 bonds, and they are all so different from each other, and you love each and every one of them. I mean, the beginning is pretty rough because they do not like her. Ollie ran away from them a couple years ago for their protection, but of course they don't know that. They just thought that she left them, so they are angry at her. But she is captured and she's forced to attend their college. So this is a new adult paranormal romance. It's not like that really weird high school one that I tried to read from Bree like 2 years ago. That one was about 15-year-olds and I could not get into it. I DNF'd that book, so I am genuinely surprised by how much I loved Broken Bonds and the whole Bonds That Tie series. And then each character, every gifted character, they have some sort of magic power, and it's really, really cool. But the romance is chef's kiss here. Like I said, it is slow burn. We have 3 guys who are around 10 years older than Ollie, and the 2 others are college age and attend college with her. There's this whole enemy group that's trying to kill her and trying to kill her bond group, and it gets really exciting, really suspenseful. There's a ton of good action, and of course there is some steam, but it does take a while to build up. But I love this series. I love how each guy's romance with Ollie is different and unique. Ollie herself is such a strong heroine. She's been through so much. Her family dying, being kidnapped and tortured by these awful people. Like, she has been through a lot, and she's come out so strong, very, very sassy. I love her. I love all the guys, and I am dying for that 6th book now. I highly recommend the series, especially if you love paranormal romance and reverse harem, though I would recommend reading this, like starting to read it in September, just so you can have the whole series to binge and finish. Next in my top 10 is My Killer Vacation by Tessa Bailey. I freaking adored this book because it was so funny and just the perfect pick-me-up. It's such a funny and hot summer/beach romance. It is set during a vacation, during the heroine's vacation on the beach. But the thing is, she accidentally finds a dead body in her summer rental house. So she kind of decides to figure out who killed the guy along with the bounty hunter hero, and he's not happy about it. It is such a good grumpy sunshine romance. The hero is this giant grump who doesn't want her anywhere near this investigation, and the heroine is literally like a school teacher, and she is so bright and fluffy. They couldn't be more different, but they have this instant connection. I mean, it's Tessa Bailey, so of course they have that instant connection, and of course the alpha hero is like obsessed with her from like the first sight. So if you love Tessa Bailey, if you know Tessa Bailey, you'll be getting all of her good stuff in this book. The steam, the dirty talk, the alpha hero. There's just this element of a cozy mystery with a dead guy, and the main character is trying to find who killed him. But I adore this one. Taylor and Miles were fantastic together. I love their chemistry. Their first meeting was absolutely hilarious and had me genuinely laughing out loud. It's pretty short too, so if you're looking for something that's quick and hot, this is gonna be great. This next one isn't technically a romance, but I loved it so much, so I don't really care. I'm still including it in this list. It's still got a romance. It is wedding themed. It's a sequel to another book. The main couple is getting married, but there's stuff going on. It is Four Aunties and a Wedding by Jesse Q. Sutanto. video. I love this one. I loved it even more than Dali for Aunties, which is the first book in the series. So Maddie and Nathan got together in Dali for Aunties and now they have their wedding, but things go pretty wrong when Maddie finds out that her wedding photographer might be in the mafia and might have a hit on someone. Of course, the aunties get involved, Maddie's mom and her 3 aunts, and they are so ridiculous and hilarious. I mean, these 4 old ladies are trying to take down the mafia and it is so insane. They're ridiculous and I love them. I also really like the audiobook for this one. The narrator did such a great job with all the various voices, all the accents. That audiobook was fantastic. So if you get the chance to listen to this in an audio after of course you've read the first book, go for it. As long as you suspend your disbelief for these books, you should be able to enjoy them because these characters are so over the top, but that's why I love them. They're hilarious and endearing and just do the craziest shit. And then another series that I'm including in this list is the St. View Prison series by Elle Thorpe. I freaking loved it and I loved Elle Thorpe. She was this new discovery for me this year and I have read 7 books of hers now. The St. View Prison series has 3 books. It's a spin-off of the St. View High series, so if you don't like high school romances, the series is for you. But this is a 3-book series. It's set around this prison because one of the 3 heroes, he was framed for the heroine's sister's murder. Another hero is one of the prison guards and there is some sword crossing going on between the prison guard and the prisoner. And then the last hero is the lawyer that the heroine made, the lawyer that she hires to defend Heath. So it's a very messy situation, especially with like her sister's murder and the whole framing thing. But the suspense was so well done. Each book ends in this god-awful cliffhanger. I mean, thankfully all 3 books are out, but still. I love the mystery and the suspense and I love the buildup of the romance, of them trying to figure out if this relationship with all 4 of them is even possible. I just thought it was so fun. It's slightly dark, nothing too crazy or anything, but there are some deaths. There's plenty of twists and turns here, though I will say it's nothing too hot, at least in the first book. I don't know why the reverse harems that I've been reading have more been on the slow burn side, but I personally don't mind it. But just know going in that you're not gonna get like full on smut in the first book. You gotta wait until like the 2nd and 3rd. I just love Elle Thorpe and I highly recommend you give her a try if you haven't yet. Is anyone surprised that I also have Penelope Douglas on this list? Because I'm not. I freaking loved Falls Boys. This is the first book in their new spin-off series, the spin-off of the Fall Away series. It's Hellbent Book 1, which is about the 2nd generation of the Fall Away characters. It's new adult. Hawk just graduated from high school. I'm pretty sure this is set during the summer after graduation and things are going crazy for them. Aro is the bad girl to Hawk's good boy. She kind of corrupts him, so if you like that dynamic, you should definitely read Falls Boys. These 2 get into quite a bit of trouble when they run into the police and now they're trying to run away from the police. They hide away at this secret spot that Hawk knows and this is when all this tension builds up between them. This is another sort of slow burn in this list. I mean, I didn't expect it because it's Penelope Douglas, but I was pleasantly surprised by it. Not that it's not hot, but it does take a while to develop. I just loved revisiting the Fall Away world, the whole cast. We get to see those characters grown up now as parents, and then we get to see all of their kids standing on their own. I thought Penelope Douglas did a fantastic job with trying to make the 2nd generation different and able to stand out from their parents. I already love them all and I'm already dying for each one of them to get their book. But yeah, this is another tension-filled book. Lots of twists and turns. There's some open-ended questions that aren't even answered yet in this first book, so I'm gonna need the next book now. But honestly, Penelope Douglas has just never disappointed me and I really don't think they will. And then another favorite of mine is a Kresley Cole book. I actually did a reread of the Immortals After Dark series and then I continued with the books that I hadn't read yet, so now I am all caught up. And one of my new favorites of the series that I only read for the first time this year was Shadow's Claim. I'm actually really surprised by how much people don't like this one. It's definitely an underrated one or a least favorite one of the entire series, which I can kind of understand, but I just love Tran so much. This vampire was completely devoted to his heroine. He went through a whole ordeal, a whole competition for her. Bettina is like a demon princess and whoever wins that competition wins her hand in marriage. So obviously Tran is like, I'm gonna win this. I also love that we got to learn more about the Dacia, about the Dacian vampires, and of course Lothair. But Tran really just made this book for me. He would kill and die for his heroine, for the love of his life, for his fated mate, and I love that. I'm always gonna be a sucker for that kind of obsession, of that obsessed alpha hero. And thankfully it does work because it's paranormal romance, so the whole like intensity of it makes sense with him being a vampire and all the characters just being completely over the top. But Tina herself has this severe anxiety, severe PTSD from being attacked and tortured from this enemy group. So Tran is just so soft and sweet with her, he's very patient with her, and he just completely adores her. I'm just a little sad that more people don't love this one, but I love it. It's definitely one of my favorites of the entire Immortals After Dark series. And then next on my list is a book that I've talked about quite a few times, and it's probably a book that you've also heard talked about many times because it's so popular, but it is Things We Never Got Over by Lacey Score. This is a popular, hyped book that actually lived up to that hype for me. It hasn't really been happening often lately, but this one totally worked for me. I loved it. It's such a wonderful small town romance, perfect with the grumpy sunshine trope. I love the banter between Nox and Naomi. It gave me a bit of a Mariana Zapata vibe, which is probably why I enjoyed it so much. So basically this book is about Naomi and being left in this small town by her sister because her twin sister stole her money and her car and left her with her daughter. So now Naomi has this niece that she's never met before and now has to take care of. Her hero is the town grump who reluctantly helps her and also becomes her new boss. I just love Naomi's character. I love that nothing really got this girl down, especially not Nox, who's very anti-love, anti-relationship, but still wants her, still wants Naomi. I love the push and pull between them, and I love the whole small town that we got here that Lacey Score created because all the characters, they're just so fun and endearing. So this was great, totally worth the hype for me. It is pretty long though, but definitely worth all the pages. One of my favorite enemies to lovers romances that I read so far this year is Twisted Hate by Anna Huang. This is the third book that they're standalone in her Twisted series, and it's my favorite of the series. The fireworks and the chemistry between Josh and Jules here was insane. It did help that there was a buildup of this tension between them in the first two books, but you can read this fine as a standalone, I'm pretty sure. All you need to know is that these two absolutely hate each other, and they have since they first met when Jules became Josh's younger sister's best friend. So it is a best friend's brother romance as well. There's a ton of good banter here. Like, these two just throw barbs at each other, maybe a little bit too much, but hey, if you love enemies to lovers, if you especially love the enemies part, you will love Twisted Hate. They're mean and dirty with each other, and once they form this enemies with benefits relationship, there's so much hate sex between them, and it gets pretty hot. I thought Anna Huang did a great job with this enemies to lovers romance. Like, I actually believe that they were enemies, and I believe the romance that formed between them. So this was a good one, and now that I actually have finished the Twisted series, this one is easily my top favorite. The second to last book on this list is my girl Kennedy Ryan. I freaking loved Blockshot. This is one of my all-time favorites this year and probably ever. I loved it so much. It's book 2 in her Hoop series, and I read the series completely out of order, but I'm not mad about it because of how much I loved it. This is Jared and Banner's book, and Jared is definitely that kind of hero that I love, who is so single-mindedly focused on his heroine. He will do anything to have her in his life, in his bed. It doesn't matter that she has a boyfriend. It doesn't matter that they had a falling out many years ago back in college. He wants Banner, so he's gonna have her. So Jared is obviously not the most pure-hearted guy, but his devotion to Banner is next level. They almost had a thing back in college like a decade ago. They were partners for this project, but then something came up. She thought that Jared played her, so she left him and just never looked back. And now that they're adults, they're all grown up, they're these really powerful sports agents, they're back in each other's lives, and Jared is not gonna let the second chance with Banner get away from him. So it is a sports romance, kind of. It's more like sports adjacent because the main characters are agents and not actually like athletes. But if you love sports romances, I don't think you'll be disappointed because it's still very heavy on the sports aspect. Basically, this is another phenomenal read from Kennedy Ryan. I love her writing. I love how powerful her romances are. Like, you really believe that the main characters are meant to be together. And it's also so hot. I don't know why people people don't talk more about Kennedy Ryan's Steam, but it's so good. But yeah, I highly recommend this one. Even if you don't like the whole cheating thing with Banner having a boyfriend, Kennedy Ryan makes it work. And then the last book in my top 10 is yet another series. It's a menage romance. It's the Guild series by Tate James. So this is an MFM romance, and it's got anti-heroes and anti-heroine, assassins, mercenaries. It is so freaking good and such a cool series. These characters are not good guys. They kill people for a living, but you still love them and you still root for them. It's a dark romance series, but it's dark in a way that's very entertaining to read, if that makes sense. It's nothing too intense and heavy, mainly because the main characters are so much fun to read. Like, Dani is the coolest heroine ever. I love her so much. She's badass. She can withstand any sort of torture. She can kill people with like a flick of her wrist. She's just really fun to read, and I loved her two heroes, Leon and Kai, who absolutely hate each other. They hate each other because they both want Dani and they both want her for themselves, but because they love her, they have to learn to share. Dani is a mercenary in the guild. Leon is another member of the guild, but he is basically a psychopath. And Kai is this powerful arms dealer. So the three of them make a very powerful power throuple, and throughout the series they're trying to figure out who is trying to kill Dani. So there's a ton of action, a ton of suspense, there's a ton of craziness going on, but I loved it. It's definitely my new favorite series from Tate James. I honestly loved it even more than Hades and Madison Kate. So that is my top 10 for the best romances that I've read so far this year. Let me know if we share any of the same ones, or if there's any that's on your list that you want to share. Let me know. As always, all the books that I mentioned will be down in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye!